Hello everyone, my name is James Travis. I'm the writer of 3 books. Potential, The Shattering, part of Adria's Birth, and Mech Contact. I guess I'll have to start with Mech Contact first. Just let me bring it up. Location, Central Russia, Russian Federation. Crash site, 2065. The sun had fallen 3 hours ago. The night had fallen with the stars isolated by the blackness of space in the sky. The moon was gone, as it is a new moon phase. Captain Joe Rayler, United States Marine Corps, looked out of the window of the prefabricated tank team's hazardous materials selection environment team, HMET, hadn't happened for a day now. Since the day after the 4th of July, the Russian HAZMAT team from the Spetsnaz brigade had been looking for a way to breach the alien vessel in the nearby hills. Once that happened, they would signal base camp to send in the other HAZMAT teams, whom would board and search the ship for survivors. Joe reviewed the events of that day when all of mankind now definitely knew that he was not alone. 2 days ago, the Galileo Space Telescope detected a large object just close to Neptune's orbit. At first, it was thought to have been a comet or asteroid that had newly arrived in the solar system. Then NASA began to see that this object was something else when it diverted its theoretical course towards Earth, and then decelerated in Earth's atmosphere. At 05:39 local time, the object crash-landed in the foothills south of the local mountain range. Messages on the internet and from new Terrascopa, as well as reports from prominent space programs, including the age-old International Space Station, sparked interest in the international community. The UN acted on these reports with Russia as the first responder. A full battalion of Spetsnaz secured a 10-kilometer perimeter around the alien vessel after a Federal Security Bureau satellite found the location of the crash site. After that, select nations sent in 1 HAZMAT team, including Arizona, the United States of America. The teams were consisted of British, Swedish, Norwegian, French, German, Mexican, Italian, South African, Brazilian, Chinese, and others, including Israeli and Iraqi. There were a lot of nations who hated each other here, and more than one argument happened. However, everyone had to set aside national differences due to decades of civil and environmental unrest. Most nations signed the Environmental Crisis Treaty of 2026, replacing the Kyoto Treaty. This forced said nations to desist in antagonizing each other, settle disputes peacefully, and use more environmental-friendly technology due to rising floods and severe storms. Even though the treaty was followed to the letter, there were still certain amounts of resentment between those nations. Rallo looked up as a tall, pale man entered the tent. He was a handsome, muscular man whose forced camouflaged armor did little to hide his bulk. He had piercing, cold gray eyes and short, dark brown hair. The name tag was written in Russian, but the name was unmistakable. Major Sergei Nikolaevich Karmanov of the 13th Spetsnaz Brigade. Captain, all team leaders are assembling at the briefing tent. The ship has been breached, Karmanov said. Rallo stood up, revealing his own urban gray camouflaged armor. He had his M38 assault rifle. At his hip was his M9 and a Marine K-bar knife. Karmanov had 2 Ivan 30 caliber pistols, .30 caliber pistols, as well as 2 combat knives that were 7 inches. Slung over his right shoulder was the crude AK-130, the descendant of the beloved AK-47. Rallo and Karmanov walked outside the tent without a word to each other. Overhead, the lamppost shone, lighting the outer corner of their space camp. Scores of guards, foreign soldiers, scientists, and even diplomats called it their temporary home. 7 kilometers were cordoned off, most of the entire area. That was just the outer perimeter. The inner perimeter was tightly sealed. There were fears about what was inside the ship, or if anything dangerous got loose. Were the aliens all dead, or were they alive? Were they hostile or friendly? Many other questions were asked. Hopefully some of them would be answered tonight or tomorrow. Rallo had never seen the ship. Not everyone had, but he had heard it was huge. The design was something out of science fiction or so, he had been told. Well, it was alien. From the size of the UN teams, this would be an operation for a company's worth of men. Surely the ship would be bigger than originally thought. The command tent had all the other CEOs of their respective teams. Seats were arranged 8 by 9. Rattler and Karmanoff were the last to arrive. Most of them had ranks lower than major or captain. The rest were lieutenant colonels or even colonels themselves. This was a meeting of sergeants and above. The responsibility of mankind's first contact was in their hands, as well as the consequences. All stood at attention as the commanding officer, the UN mission commander, General Frederick Picasso, a bulky, stout South African man who had a bald head. He also had green eyes that showed wisdom and authority. He walked over to the hollow table. His eyes drifted to every man and woman in the tent. "Please be seated," he said, his voice boomed deeply. Everyone sat down. The hollow table activated. The projector glowed blue and hum. "Gentlemen, 12 minutes ago, a Russian HAZMAT team successfully found a way to breach the alien ship after finding what apparently is an airlock." As he spoke, the alien ship was projected. It appeared to be a kilometer long and 15 stories high. The ship was slender in design. It was damaged, but beautiful. The technology was obviously far beyond anything humanity could build today, Rattler whistled. "Your objective is to board this vessel. From there, your team shall search the ship for any and all surviving crew members," Picasso said. The display showed over 15 levels that were equal in height. Rattler frowned. "As you can see, we have no knowledge of the interior of the ship. We know only that it is very damn big. We can't sacrifice any drones, as there are unlimited possibilities of what could go wrong. In that case, be prepared for any hostiles you may encounter," the general corrected himself. "Oh wait, we don't know if the aliens are hostile. Hopefully they're not hostile, maybe," he sighed. "Have your teams be cautious as you search," Picasso added. "As you search the ship, keep in contact with us. Notify us if anything you find, such as bodies or aliens, or what they look like, and if they are alive or dead," Picasso asked. The Chinese HAZMAT team leader, Lieutenant Zhao, raised a hand. "Sir, what if we find any working technology as well as the ship's logs?" he asked. Picasso paused before answering. "Leave that for the technicians. Your priority is to search for survivors." Picasso looked up. "Mrs. Rattler," he said. There were glances at Joe Rattler, whom Alfred cursed at, and glanced at the entrance. Standing there was Ambassador Sandra Rattler. She had a tall, attractive body with fair cream skin. She had chestnut brown hair and firm blue eyes. The makeup she wore made her look livelier. She wore a blue one-piece business dress. Sandra glanced at her husband as she walked up to the front of the command tent. Sandra shook hands with Picasso greeting. She looked at her gathered team leaders. There was a second longer look at Karmanoff. There was a look of caring, recognition. Rattler glared at Karmanoff briefly. There was no doubt that General Picasso had given you your orders, reporting and searching the alien vessel for survivors, if any. "Once you have the survivors, you are ordered to escort them back to base camp for debriefing," Sandra said. There were nods. "That is all, gentlemen. Good luck," she said. They were all dismissed. "Well, that explains why she wasn't home 2 days ago, or answered my calls," Rattler thought. Being married to a diplomat who worked for the UN had its ups and downs. Sandra usually played tough ball with countries that didn't follow the ECT, and she didn't lie about the force involved. When it came to trade negotiations and humanitarian aid, she was fair. Sandra often appeared as firm, but fair person on the outside. It had given her a reputation as a tough mom diplomat. She was both feared and respected in the diplomatic community, but mostly respected. Rattler went back to his team's tent and told his 8-man team their orders. They donned their breathing masks. They also took essential equipment such as radiation meters, material, and chemical smears. They took their minimum requirement of shotguns, pistols, and assault rifles, as well as ammunition. The teams gathered at the checkpoint to the outer perimeter.